Now, I'd like to go a night or two without mentioning the ABC, but really, they just keep coming up with egregious transgressions and someone's got to try to hold them to account. And today on social media, I saw a so-called fact check from the ABC's Sarah Ferguson that was just so wrong. And of course, it was misleading about one of the biggest issues facing the nation and the hottest political battleground. Check this out for a statement.
Power bills are high, but the rollout of renewables are not the cause.
Now, Ferguson was trying to call out the opposition leader, Susan Lee, surprise, surprise, for blaming escalating power prices on additional transmission for renewables, which is only a small part of the problem, sure, although it will only get worse. But that statement from Ferguson and the ABC was blatant and strong, wasn't it?
Power bills are high, but the rollout of renewables are not the cause.
Well, let's drill into that a bit. Here's more of the post.
According to the experts and the regulator, the wholesale price of electricity rose sharply when the war in Ukraine broke out, sending the cost of coal and gas globally through the roof. And as coal-fired power stations have become more and more unreliable, other forms of energy have been needed to fill the gap, including gas. In the last decade, the cost of gas has tripled.
The Ukraine war started years ago and prices did go up initially, but then they fell. And more to the point, why have coal-fired power stations shut down or been forced to work harder? Well, because the policies and the market rules designed to push renewables are designed to force coal out. In other words, the coal issues are a direct result of the renewables push. You can't just pretend that coal is in strife as some kind of separate, unrelated issue. And as for gas, well, that too is affected by renewables because gas generators chime in and out when renewables aren't working. So that affects the price at which they can purchase their gas, and it means they make hay while the sun doesn't shine and the wind doesn't blow. Then there's the network costs, including transmission.
According to the experts, only a tiny proportion of the network costs now go to pay for transmission for renewables. Obviously, as the renewables rollout continues, those prices will go up. For now, the existing energy system has a grid that needs to be upgraded, that needs to be paid for, and you pay for it in your bill.
Well, tiny, 6% and rising, but yeah, transmission costs are not the main cause of price rises now, but they are a factor, and they're going to get a lot worse as more and more transmission is rolled out. The other factor is how the massive push to install another kind of renewable energy, solar energy, is pushing more of the network costs onto other consumers. Here's an explainer from the Centre for Independent Studies.
Turns out these solar customers are earning $700 to $1,200 more in annual bill savings than the actual value their generation is providing to the grid. Now, if you don't have rooftop solar, you might be thinking, well, good for them, but why should I care? You should care because the money rooftop solar owners are saving is being taken out of your wallet. Network companies who build and maintain our grid's poles and wires are regulated monopolies. These companies have an approved amount of revenue they can recoup from customers every year. So if one group of customers is saving too much on their bills, another group will have to pay more to make up the difference.
Yeah, the solar rooftop power creates problems for grid management. It still requires the grid infrastructure, but it often pushes those costs onto others. Here's more from the CIS.
We have two customers. Larry installs aircon while Mark installs rooftop solar. Now, Larry uses aircon to get through hot summer evenings, so he ends up contributing more to forecast critical peak demand than before. That means he causes network costs to go up. But because Larry's total consumption also increases, he pays more in network charges, which are mostly based on consumption. Everything is going in the right direction. But Mark is a different story. His rooftop solar system doesn't reduce his contribution to forecast critical peak demand, and Mark's solar panels put pressure on the grid by adding to the glut of solar power in the middle of the day, increasing network costs. But because his total consumption from the grid goes down as he self-consumes solar energy, his network charges also go down. Things are going in the wrong direction. Mark is saving on the network portion of his bill when, if anything, he should be paying more than before. This distorted price signal is pushing up bills for everyone who doesn't have rooftop solar, which incentivizes even more people to get rooftop solar, and the vicious cycle continues.
There you have it. Just another way that the renewables push is forcing retail electricity prices up. It's silly to deny this. We all know that we used to have some of the world's cheapest and most reliable power, and that's no longer the case. Prices have doubled. There are many factors at play, and sure, fluctuations in fossil fuel prices play a role, but most of the factors are related to the renewables energy push. And all the experts tell us that the continued rollout, especially of transmission, will only make that worse. So for the ABC to say this...
Power bills are high, but the rollout of renewables are not the cause.
Well, that's just wrong. And that was in a fact check. And it's typical of the ABC's political bias, backing the renewable energy push as an ideological obsession rather than reporting it objectively and advocating for practical outcomes.